Hi viewers, good morning everyone. In the previous class, we have discussed about the components of laser devices. The components are the pump, the laser medium and the resonator. The pump is an external source which supplies energy to obtain population inversion. The pump can be either electrical, optical and thermal. In Ruby laser we use optical pumping and in helium neon laser we use electrical discharge pumping. The laser medium is a material in which the laser action is going to be achieved. It may be a solid, liquid or gas. The very important characteristic requirement for the medium is that inversion should be possible in it. That means population inversion should be possible. To make population inversion to be possible, here we have to take care of one thing, that is that laser medium what we are taking should have at least one or two metastable states. Then the resonator consists of a pair of plane or spherical mirrors having common principal axis. The reflection coefficient of one of the mirror is very near to 1 and the other mirror is kept less than 1. That means one mirror is very very polished. That means it is polished very high. That means it reflects all the light whatever incident on it. That's why its reflection coefficient is very near to 1. And the other one we polished not that much, its reflection coefficient is less than 1. The resonator is basically a feedback device that directs the photons back and forth through the laser medium. So in this the components of the laser have been shown. Just observe here. This is a active medium where we take either gas, liquid or solid, in which we are going to achieve the laser action. It will be taken in a vessel kind of thing or some container. And here the excitation mechanism or pump is there. This excitation mechanism or pump can be either electrical, optical or thermal. That means by using electrical discharge, suppose if we take a gas here as active medium, we generally use electrical discharge pumping. That means by using electrical discharging, we achieve laser action. And if we take let us say solid state active medium, then we have to use either optical medium or some other medium. Sorry, optical discharge we have to take, like in Ruby laser. So these are the highly reflective mirrors. These two are the highly reflective mirrors, but the reflectance of this one is very high when compared to this one. This is almost half silver. So these two mirrors in combine forms the optical resonator. So the three components of laser devices are the pump. The first one is the pump. It is an external source which supplies energy to obtain population inversion. The pump can be optical, electrical or thermal. In Ruby laser we use optical pumping, and in helium neon laser we use electrical discharge pumping. The energy supplied by the pump excites the atoms to higher energy levels, and through the spontaneous emission of non-radiative process, the population inversion occurs. Here the lifetime of the metastable energy state in which the population inversion occurs must be large as compared to the normal lifetime of the excited atom in the any other state. The laser medium, it is the material in which the laser action is to be taken place. It may be solid, liquid or gas. The very important characteristic requirement for the medium is that inversion should be possible in it. That means population inversion should be possible, otherwise it cannot be used as a laser medium. Many lasers are named after the material used. For example, the output of Ruby laser is at 694.3 nanometers. That means it is nothing but 6943 angstroms. and that of helium neon laser is at 632.8 nanometers. That means it is 632.8 angstroms. And CO2 laser is a gas laser. It outputs will be at 10.6 micrometers. Laser action has been observed in more than half of the known atoms, and laser wavelength may be extended from ultraviolet region to infrared region. The most important characteristic requirements for the laser medium is that we should be able to obtain the population inversion in it. According to Boltzmann condition, if N1 and N2 are the atoms that are present in the energy levels E1 and E2, there is a relationship between them. This is the relationship: N2 by N1 is equal to exponential minus h nu by kt, where h nu is equal to E2 minus E1. Therefore, N2 in general less than N1 because of this rigorous and vigorous pumping may be required for sustaining the population inversion, and so only certain pairs of energy levels with appropriate lifetime can be inverted. The resonator consists of a pair of plane or spherical mirrors having common principal axis. The reflection coefficient of one or more mirrors is very near to 1, and that of the other is kept less than 1. The resonator is basically a feedback device that directs the photon back and forth through the laser medium, and in the process the number of photons is more and more by achieving stimulated emission. So this is the principle of laser. An atomic system having one or more two metastable states is chosen. Normally, the number of atoms in the lower energy state is greater than that in the metastable state. So population inversion is achieved by a technique called pumping. Here I want to explain what is metastable state means. Suppose one state is there, next one more state is there, third like this, first ground state, first state, second state, third state, like this are there. But in one of the particular state, the atoms can stay longer time when compared to the remaining other levels. That particular state is called as metastable state. That means metastable state is a state in which the excited atoms can stay longer than usual. And pumping is a process in which pumping is a mechanism. Pumping is a mechanism through which the population inversion is achieved. So, in the previous classes we have discussed about stimulated emission and spontaneous emission also. The atoms are made to fall from metastable state to lower energy state, and the photons are emitted by stimulated emission. So, in the previous classes we have discussed about spontaneous emission and stimulated emission. But for laser action to be taken place, stimulated emission should be preferable. The photons are reflected back and forth in the active medium to excite the other atoms. Thus, a large number of photons are emitted simultaneously, which possess the same energy, pace and direction, and this process is called as amplification of light. The metastable state should all the time have larger number of atoms than the number of atoms in the lower energy state. The photons emitted due to stimulated emission should be stimulating other atoms to multiply the photons in the active medium. So this is the main point, just you remember this one. The photons emitted due to stimulated emission, let us say one photon is emitted by first stimulated emission, or not like that. Just in stimulated emission at least two photons will be emitted. Suppose two photons are emitted in first stimulated emission. These two photons induces two more stimulated emission. That means for two photons we will get four photons. Next four photons will be multiplied to 8 photons. Like this, it's a chain reaction kind of thing. After a large number of stimulated emissions happens, the light input, the light output will be very high. So the light when the light beam intensity is getting more and more, after certain time that light beam escapes from the resonator mirror, which is having less reflection coefficient. So lasing action will be happening in this different steps. Energies I will go through one by one. Just observe. Energy is applied to medium, rising electrons to an unstable energy level. The energy level unstable means, first of all, it will be go to some energy state which is having less lifetime. Then through a spontaneous emission process, the atoms comes to a metastable state. There they stay for long time. In that metastable state, the population of atoms will be more when compared to ground state. Like this, we are achieving what we call population inversion. So, this population inversion stimulates the production of another photon of the same wavelength and resulting in cascading effect. The partially reflected mirror allows the transmission of small amount of coherent radiation light that will be observing as a beam. That is called laser beam. Laser radiation will continue as long as the energy is applied to the lasing medium. When the energy applied, let us take a ruby rod. When we for ruby rod, we are going to use a xenon flash tube as a excitation pump or excitation medium, excitation source. When xenon flash lamp switches on, in fraction of seconds, 3 milliseconds, the ruby atoms, where chromium atoms we are calling it as ruby atoms, the chromium atoms comes to excited state, and they will get a transition from excited state to metastable state, and the population inversion will be achieved, and thereby lasing action will be achieved. This entire process takes only just 3 milliseconds. Just observe. That means it's a spontaneous process. That when the excitation medium or excitation source excites the laser medium, immediately the lasering action will be taking place. So this is the lasing action diagram. This is a three-level lasing system, in which the first one is ground state, the second one is metastable state, and the third one is excited state. So when energy is interacted with these atoms which are there in ground state, they will get excited to the second excited state. They will stay very long, very short time, of the order of 10 to the power minus 8 seconds there, and obviously they will undergo a spontaneous emission process. By emitting some radiation that may be visible or non visible, by emitting some radiation, they will get transition from excited state to metastable state, and here they will stay for longer time, because the metastable state is a state which is having a lifetime of more than 10 to the power minus 3 seconds. So they will stay here for longer time. That means the atoms in the ground state get excited. Almost all of them get excited to the excited state. But the thing is that here more number of atoms are there. Here less number of atoms are there. So that's why we are calling it as population inversion. Population inversion means the higher energy level contains a large number of atoms when compared to ground level. So here population inversion is achieved, but after 10 to the power minus 3 seconds, these atoms which are there in metastable state undergoes stimulated emission, and they come to ground state by emitting photons. So this photon light, this laser light, if it is getting more and more, after some time what happens, it escapes from some light will be leak or escape from the second reflective mirror, which is having reflection coefficient less than 1. So here it is explained in more diagrammatically. Just observe here. In the previous diagram we have explained a 3-level lasing action, and here we are going to explain a 4-level lasing action. This is the process which we observe in helium neon laser. So here ground level is there, that is having energy, let us say E0. This is the first energy level of energy having E1. This is the second energy level of energy E2. This is the fourth energy level of energy E3. Let us say this is E0, E1, E2 and E3. Sorry. This is having energy E3. So, by stimulated absorption, if we pump some energy to the into the lasing medium, the atoms or molecules or whatever it is in the lasing medium absorb that energy by stimulated absorption, and they go to the top level, that is E3 level. So from E3 level, by stimulated it doesn't stimulated emission doesn't happen. Through the spontaneous emission, the atoms which are there in the energy level E3, through spontaneous emission they comes to this level, this E2 level. Here just remember this one thing, this is a metastable state and remaining all the levels are normal states. So atoms stay here for a longer time when compared to remaining energy levels. So like this we achieve population inversion. So atoms in this level, after 10 to the power minus 3 seconds from the first transition, they again get transition from this level to this level after 10 to the power minus 3 seconds. This process is a stimulated emission. So after this stimulated emission, they come to this level, obviously by a non-radiative transition. That means their energy will be emitted, but we cannot observe that energy. That means it's a non-radiative energy, non-radiative transition. So through a non-radiative transitions, the atoms which are there in this level, that is E1 level, comes to ground state. Again what happens? They comes to ground state. Again we are using a pump to pump the atoms to energy level E3. This kind of cyclic process happens continuously. As long as we give energy to this lasing medium, this process continues. So this is the metastable state. Just remember. Here the lasing action has been shown diagrammatically. It is an animation, but I cannot play the animation right now. Here just observe, this is the lasing medium. The lasing medium, let us say this is a solid state lasing medium. So laser resonator consists of a lasing medium, either gas, liquid or solid, between eye reflecting and output coupler. Okay. So here this dot, this gray dot represents the atoms in ground state, and this pink color sparse tells that the atoms are in energy level 1, and this blue color sparse tells that the atoms in energy level 2. And here these are the three levels, E1, E2, E3. That's no problem, because when they come to ground state like this, gray spots. So here two kinds of process will be happens, because when they go when the atoms gone to a first excited state, they can come to the ground state by spontaneous emission, or they come to ground state by stimulated emission. So there two kinds of process will be happen. Here in this diagram we have shown spontaneous emission with a green color spot and stimulated emission with a yellow spot. Here we can observe one thing, that here spontaneous emission is happening, but after some time the stimulated emission will be dominating. In the stimulated emission, what happens? First cycle, one photon goes and hit the excited atom. Because of that one, we will get two photons. So next time these two photons go and give their energy to four atoms which are there in metastable state. So these four atoms gives eight photons. Like this process goes on continuing after some time, what happens? The light input, the light energy or light radiation inside this active medium increasing. Due to that, some amount of energy will be leaked here. So we are calling this one as laser action. Just observe here. Here we have achieved population inversion. Here the process is stimulated emission and the spontaneous emission is happening, but it is happening that the starting of stimulated emission. Here completely stimulated emission is happening. Here full stimulated emission happened and a coherent laser beam is being generated, and it is coming out from the laser resonator. So this is we are calling as basic operation of a laser, whatever laser it is there. This is the basic operation we have shown in the diagrammatically. Next, coming to atomic transitions. Atomic transitions are three types. One is stimulated absorption, second one is stimulated emission, and third one is spontaneous emission. So here just observe, just we have taken only two levels here for convenience. This is A level, A1 level, this is A2 level. Here 4 electrons are there in their ground state. Here when a photon incident on this 4 electrons, one of them get excited to first excited level. One electron is excited in excited state. Okay, so almost all transitions, electronic transitions that occur in atoms that involve protons fall into three categories. One, that is stimulated emission, stimulated absorption and spontaneous emission. So here stimulated absorption has been explained. When the photon incident on this electrons which are there in the ground state, there are 4 electrons are there. One of them get excited to excited state. So after the absorption, two processes can be taken in place. The emission is two types. One is spontaneous emission. The other one is stimulated emission. In spontaneous emission, what happens? This electron can't stay here for longer time. What happens? It comes to this ground state by emitting a photon of energy equal to E2 minus E1. So here stimulated emission is another type of emission where already here one excited electron is there or excited atom is there. What we are doing, we are allowing one more photon that is having energy delta E, that is equal to E2 minus E1, that is equal to HF. We are allowing one photon, already the atom or electron in the excited state here. What we are doing, we are allowing one more photon to incident on this atom or electron, which comes to this ground state by emitting one more photon. That means per single photon we are getting 2 photons. This is called stimulated emission. So next let us discuss the different types of laser. But in today's class we are going to discuss only 2 types of lasers, that is ruby laser and the helium-9 laser. But classification can be done in many number of ways. Depends on the type of active medium and that means the type medium can be either liquid or solid or gas. Based on that one also we can classify the lasers like gas, liquid and solid state lasers. And according to the type of pumping also we can classify. Type of pumping can be light, chemical action and electric discharge can be done. Based on the electrical pumping, based on the pumping also we can classify the lasers into light, chemical action and electrical discharge lasers. Next, according to the nature of output, that the output can be pulsed or continuous output also there. For example, if you take ruby laser, in ruby laser the output is not continuous. It's not a continuous laser. The output, but our eyes cannot observe that thing. But if you keep a a detector which is having very good response time, we can observe that the laser output is not continuous in the case of ruby laser. So if we consider the other laser, that is helium neon laser, the output is continuous. That means the light output comes all the times. So based on whether the laser is a pulsed laser or a continuous laser, the lasers can be classified. Okay. Next, depends on the spectral region of the output light. So we know the electromagnetic spectrum consists of so many types of varieties of radiations, like gamma radiation and X-rays, and so many types are there, like visible light, infrared light, and UV light. So like this, but depends on the spectral region of the output light. The lasers can be classified into ultraviolet light, visible, or infrared lasers. Other kind of energies cannot be there, because ultraviolet lasers are the lasers which used in high power lasing actions. Visible lasers are the lasers which are having their wavelength, output wavelength in the visible region. So infrared lasers are the lasers which emit their output in infrared region of wavelength. So these are the different types of lasers. Just observe here. Here nitrogen laser is a gas laser. It is a pulsed laser, and its wave its output pulse in the region of ultraviolet laser. Ultraviolet region. And helium neon laser is a gas laser which output is pulsed one, and its light output pulse in the visible region. Like this, different types of lasers is explained in this diagram. Just you can go through this chart or diagram. Next, let us discuss the lasers one by one. But the first one is ruby laser. This is the ruby laser. Here, just observe. In ruby laser, the laser is used as a pulsed laser, producing the red light of 694.3 nanometers. After receiving a pumping from the flash tube, the laser light emerges for as long as the excited atoms persist in the ruby rod, which is typically about a millisecond. Just observe this one. Ruby rod is nothing but a combination of aluminum oxide and chromium oxide, and it's a sapphire. So it is a combination of, that means you just take alumina rod. In that one, if you goes on putting in the sides of some sides of aluminum, the chromium atoms or chromium ions, that becomes a ruby rod. That color also becomes if you take alumina rod, that is white in color. But if you go on increasing the implantation of chromium ions in the sides of aluminum ions, the rod itself becomes pink color. That pink color rod is called as ruby rod. So in ruby rod, one metastable state will be there, so we can achieve the laser action. So here the pumping source is xenon flash tube. Just observe this one. This is a xenon flash tube. By using xenon flash tube, if you apply the electrical, if you give some voltage, electrical voltage, this xenon flash tube glows, and it gives the energy, that is optical energy, to this ruby rod. Here it has been shown 3-level energy level diagram. So here the atoms will be there in the ground state. Okay. So when we go energy by using optical pumping, they goes to either state, this state or this state. But the thing is that they cannot stay in this level for a long time. What they do, they come to this level, which is a metastable state or metastable energy level. So from this here, if you the atoms are here, if you allow one more photon which is having energy equal, energy difference exactly equal to this energy difference between these two states, the atoms undergoes spontaneous stimulated emission. Because of that stimulated emission, laser action is happening in this one. So chromium atom play the active role for laser action, and minimum aluminum and oxygen atoms remains inert. It is a 3-level laser. Just observe. Here it has been shown how the lasing action has been taken place. Initially, what we do to make this ruby rod, we take alumina rod. Um, in general, 1 mm diameter and 5 centimeters length. We take a ruby aluminum rod which is having 5 centimeters length and 1 centimeter width, but we implant some chromium ions into that. That's why it becomes a ruby rod. So by using this flash tube, xenon flash tube, for optical pumping, we are pumping these atoms which are there in this ruby rod to excited level. Thereby, those atoms cannot stay there for longer time, more than 10 to the power of 6 seconds time. They undergo a spontaneous transition. They comes to the first metastable state. When the atoms are in the metastable state, what we are doing, we are allowing other photons which are having exactly same energy difference between metastable state and ground state. Thereby, the atoms there they undergo a stimulated emission process. In that stimulated emission process, the light input will be more and more. After some time, what happens? The light will be getting out from this resonator mirror, one of the resonator mirror, which is having less reflection coefficient. Here, pumping levels of the ruby laser has been shown. Just you can observe this thing. Here, these two are non-radiative transitions to be to the metastable state from the pumped levels, because this is the ground state. If we pump these atoms which are there in ground states by giving some optical energy, they goes to these two excited levels, but they undergo transitions to this metastable state by a non-radiative transition process. Here, if we allow some photons which are having the energy difference exactly equal to the metastable state and ground state, stimulated emission will happens. Because of the stimulated emission, we get laser beam as output. Here, different energy levels has been shown, but this is not required, I think. This is the diagram of helium neon laser. You just observe, this is actual laser diagram, practical laser diagram. Here we take one glass tube, which is having 5 centimeter radius and 10 centimeters length. So we fill the gas mixture, that is helium neon gas mixture, in this glass tube. This glass tube is fitted with two mirrors, optically flat mirrors, but they are called Brewster windows because they are the mirrors which are aligned in a particular angle. That's why they are called as Brewster windows. So here two anodes are there. One is this is cathode, this is anode. Two electrical. This anode and cathode are connected to a power supply. This power supply supplies electrical discharge into this gas, which is the lasing medium in this glass tube. This entire glass tube is mounted on a metallic case, which supports to hold them, all these things. But this power supply we supply from outside. This is one mirror and this is one mirror. These are the mirrors. These are the mirrors. This is highly reflective mirror. This is less reflective mirror. So initially, what happens? Light output. Initially, there won't be any light output here. After some time only, many number of individual emissions takes place. Because of that individual emissions, light output will be more and more. After a certain time, the light comes out from this window. So this mirror is having 95% reflectivity, and this mirror is having 100% reflectivity. So this is the energy level diagram of helium neon laser. Here, this is the energy levels of helium. These are the energy levels of neon. Here, just you have to remember one thing, that these in helium, these two energy levels are almost coinciding with these two levels of neon. So here, what is happening? The actual mechanism is different. Here, the helium neons which are in ground state, they get excited by this electrical discharge. They goes to excited state. These helium atoms or helium ions which are there in excited state, they collide with the neon atoms. They transfer their energy to neon atoms. So in this process, the neon atoms goes to excited state. So thereby they come to a this state called metastable state by spontaneation process. Here this energy level is metastable energy state, and here the transition is happening here. So this is a laser radiative transition, and this is also one more radiative transition, but we are blocking this one by putting some filters. So this is a spontaneous emission process, and this is also a spontaneous emission process through this walls of the container. So in this diagram, it has been explained with a detailed diagram also. Here, just this is the ground state. This is for helium. This is for neon. Just observe here, the ground state is there here, and excited levels is there here for helium atom. So ground state is at 0 electron volts, and excited state is at 20.61 electron volts. Okay, so when the electron discharge happens in the helium neon gas, the electrons which are having high energy, they come and hit the helium atom. So the electrons impart their energy to the helium atom. The helium atom absorb that energy, and it goes to the first excited state. There in the first excited state means it is in excited state. So there it will be having a lot of energy. When in the helium neon gas mixture, helium atoms also will be there, neon atoms also will be there. But neon atoms cannot be directly pumped to this excited state. But this helium atom which is there in excited state, it imparts its energy to neon atom. So neon atoms, like this, energy transfer happens between helium and neon. So this neon atom absorb energy from neon atom, and through collisions, this neon atom which is there in the excited state gets get a transition from this excited state to this excited state by emitting a laser photon of wavelength 632.8 nanometers, and this remaining two are spontaneous emission process. This is a radiation less transition. So this is the actual working of our helium neon laser, and here different energy level, different transitions have been explained. So this is a diode laser. Tomorrow let us discuss about this remaining diode laser and carbon dioxide laser. With this I conclude my lecture, video lecture for today. If you have any doubts, please watch this video carefully. If you have any doubts, you post your comments in the comment box. I will go through one by one all your questions. I will answer your questions without any hesitation. For feedback also, you can give me the feedback in the comments box. Thank you very much. for your patience, for your constant encouragement also. Thank you very much. We will meet in tomorrow's class.